Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching All Things Bike, brought to you by Zentis Wheels and AD Bikes. And today, we are speaking with Andy Haskell, the organizer of the Maine Time Trial Series. Andy.
Thanks, Fred, for inviting me, having me down today.
Great to have you down. Thanks so much for finding the time. And hey, it's exciting to know that the Time Trial Series is upon us once again. Just for some of our viewers who don't know, can you explain what a time trial is?
A time trial, unlike a mass start race that a lot of people see on TV, a time trial race is an event where cyclists go off individually in 30-second intervals. Usually we have a tendency to put the slower riders in the front and then the faster riders in the back. Just because when people finish, we want our people to finish kind of close.
And they're just going against the clock?
They're racing against the clock. Usually the best courses are the ones that are out and back, just a quick turnaround. You don't have to really spend a lot of time trying to control corners and block off traffic. So a standard, typical time trial course is anywhere from 12 to 25 miles or 20K to 40K. Right. And just out and back.
Right, and the man machine or man woman machine against the clock.
Yeah, it's a great. And a lot of people use it kind of as a benchmark.
Yeah, race of truth, right?
Yeah, just it's based on your individual time at the end. And what's great about time trialing is, unlike road racing where people can get discouraged by a bad finish or a poor finish, a lot of times where people get to measure themselves is, did they improve over the course of the season? That's what makes time trialing so much fun for people to be involved, because they can see that personal improvement.
They can see the faster time at the end of the year or when they turn up. Well, what's your connection to the Maine Time Trial Series? It has a history.
Yeah, the Maine State Time Trial Series actually, as I look back on it, probably got started in the late 1980s, and I know that Larry Poulin Jr., he was the owner of Rainbow Bicycle, a prominent time trialist in Maine, got the Maine State Time Trial Series going in the Augusta area, and it was out on Route 27 out towards Belgrade.
Okay.
And that was one of the main courses. Since then it's just been built up and there's stoplights, but that was kind of like the featured course. And they had some other courses. I know they used to use the Lake Auburn time trial course sometimes around Lake Auburn.
Okay.
And they also used a couple of courses in Winthrop, and that was kind of like the start of time trialing in Maine. Right,
but then it became, for a while there, the Bicycle Coalition of Maine.
Yeah, I would say in the mid-2000s, the Bicycle Coalition just exploded. And I think cycling, that whole Lance Armstrong period in American cycling history just really grew and exploded. And I think at one point they had 12 or 14 different venues throughout the state. And slowly as Lance left the sport and slowly as people got out of the sport, maybe they got in and started doing more triathlons, you started seeing the numbers go down a little bit, especially I would say the last 3 or 4 years.
Right. It definitely had it faded out, and I think it stopped for a couple of years. But then,
in 2014, it just kind of came to the halt after the LL Bean race, and
But you picked it up again. And what was the inspiration for that?
I had a few cycling clients that just wanted me to go out and take their times, and I said, sure, I'll have some gimmick, time trials using the Topsom course. I was familiar with the course. That's where I was born and raised down there and did a lot of riding. So I had 7, 8, 9 people show up to the first one, and then the next thing you know, I had 12, 13, 14, and word of mouth passed, and I think by the end I had about 20 people. So last year I made kind of an effort to bring back the Time Trial Series back to Maine and in the Topsom area. So this year we're going to have 6 races in Topsom, and we're probably going to add one in Poland. Right. I know there's going to be a race in Bridgeton in September. It's not going to be part of the series. They've got a new person involved in the sport, but they definitely.
Great.
So I think there's, I think time trialing starting to come back in Maine.
Well, it's great. I mean, in a way, it's easier. I mean, not the event. It's very demanding to ride your bike as hard as you can for 24 miles. But if it's in Topsom, that's relatively close to the center. There's not that much traveling, and the course is very, very challenging, but it's also very straightforward. It's out and back. It sounds great. So, are there any other? It's all going to be out and back.
Yeah, the first two in Topsom, and all of these are on Bike Reg under time trials. As a pre-registration, we'll always take day of, but we've got one coming up on April 29th on Saturday is the first one, and then we'll have another one May 14th on Mother's Day. Those will be 11 miles. Those are just going to be straight out. We chose to do 11 miles for the earlier ones just because some people aren't as fit, and doing a 20 miler, the kind of winters that we have here in Maine, it'll get people out there. And then once we get into June,
do the longer ones.
Yeah, in June, July, and August, we'll have 20-mile events.
But in a way, the shorter ones can be harder because it's maximum effort.
Yeah,
and no sort of preserving your energy.
Yeah, the early ones. I mean, people's fitness. A lot of times people misjudge their fitness early on in the season, go a little too hard, and then the other tough thing is, and I'm sorry about this, folks, but you got to kind of ride. You got to ride back. But I will have some refreshments at the halfway point if people need a little picker up or on the way back.
I think that was one of the hardest parts of last year.
Was the recovery, the 11-mile recovery ride back.
Oh man, well it's a great event, and it gets people out and gets people thinking about time trials. Well, what kind of there's some categories, and what kind of bikes do people need?
Yeah, usually a typical standard road bike is fine. I mean, we do offer the Eddie Merckx class, which is kind of like the old school, a typical bike like this, bike that you have here, just a standard, geared bike with a drop handlebars, is a bike that you can use for any of the classes. We have a bunch of different age groups. That people can use aero bikes and disc wheels. And then we added a new class this year, and this is for kind of some of the big riders out there. We added the Clydesdale class and a Philly class. And I think, just to kind of spur some of the people to get excited that, hey, look, I can be a big guy. I know personally I'm a big guy, so
that's great.
It's a good way to get everybody involved. Cycling's a lifetime sport. It's for everybody. Everybody can do it. So we varied the classes up just so that everybody can get involved.
That's right, because it's very easy to believe that if you're going to be in a time trial, you've got to have a full-on aero bike with deep dish wheels and disc wheels and all that stuff. But for most of cycling's history, time trials were done on regular road bikes, right?
I mean, that's how I got started, 30 years ago. And so there's a lot of people, and a lot of people are appreciative. I think our Eddie Merckx class is probably our biggest class, just because people don't want to go out there and spend astronomical amounts of money on a specific time trial bike. So it's a great way to still be involved. Test their limits and have a good time. And
zero in on your breakaway skills, right?
Yeah, it's always good.
Key thing. Well, what about the scoring and the?
We use a point system. We do for the top 8 places in each division. We don't do the overall. We just do based on divisions. We give out medals and ribbons and stuff like that. But I think one of the better benefits of the series is we raffle off prizes at the end. And I want to thank Tom Gill, the owner of Tom's Bike Boutique in Winthrop, and Lee Houston, owner of Center Street Cycle. They're two of the primary sponsors that help us out with the series.
That's new, right? I mean, that's
they're local. They're local shops. I know Lee's always been a big supporter of the local cycling community. So, I think one of the best things about Maine are the small bike shops, and there's a lot of great ones out there. So we want to thank Lee and Tom for helping us out this year.
That's great news, and I'm sure that's going to help get the word out and increase the participation. I know I'm all signed up for it, or I haven't signed up yet, but it's on the calendar, and I know where to go, and it's a great thing. Now, are there any longer term plans? I mean, right now you're doing most.
We've put feelers out. I know Portland Velo got back to me, and I know they're interested in trying to get one started up.
Yep.
You know, the Bridgeton one is one that's added. And then, you know, I think there's some hope in Central Maine. I know Dave Richards, who did a lot with Central Maine Cycling Series. He's involved in a new group at Matthews Cycle. They had a change in ownership, and they've done a fantastic job trying to expand cycling in Central Maine. And I think there's some hope to try to get some time trials back in that area, because there were some fantastic, great courses. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, no pun intended, we're going to try to go back to some of those people that have been away for a little bit, and try to reach out, even if they can just add, you know, one time trial a year. If we can get back to 8 to 10, you know, it'd be great.
That, I mean, when the time trial series was at its peak, those 8 to 10 time trials, really it raised my game, that's for sure, because there was a time trial every week, and I found that by the end of April or mid-May, I already had 3 or 4 time trials under my belt, and I knew what it was like. And then I would go to a stage race, and people would turn up and they'd say, "Wow, I haven't been on my time trial bike at all so far."
Right.
And it really helps those who really want to compete in stage races.
Yeah. I mean, for the guys that are highly competitive, it's a great way to test your fitness and really kind of zero in on some of those power goals that they may have, or fitness goals. And in the same sense, for the recreational rider that's getting out there 2 or 3 times a week, this is a great way that they can test themselves. And still have a good time. We try to make these time trials are a low-key event, but
the fact is that when you go to a place and you set up there and there are 10 people lined up, and there you are standing with the clock saying 10, 9, you always will ride differently. You will ride as faster in that kind of circumstance than if you just went out there on a Saturday morning by yourself and just went out and back. It's
a lot of people, you know, and that's what you see. That's what's so great about time trialing, is you'll come back and someone will set you know, a best 30-minute power reading, or you know, and they just it really sets themselves up for some later cycling goals that they may have, and that's what's really super about it.
Wonderful, Andy. Well, thanks so much for doing that, and for making the effort and doing the work to get the series going again. And thanks again for coming down and talking.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Andy Haskell, the organizer of the Maine Time Trial Series. You can learn more about the series through Facebook, I believe, and keep an eye out. Do a search on Google, and you'll find more. And you can also register for all these events through bikereg.com, which is very easy to do. You can also register a day of, but doing it in advance saves you a lot of trouble. That's all we've got time for right now. Thanks so much for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.